Hi ho ho, and welcome back to a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. I'm your host Jerry, and as always, I'm joined by my eccentric host Babby.
I'm the wackiest. Everybody knows this.
That was the Love to Mom intro, but that's fine.
Okay.
Uh,
I haven't heard it before, so
so it was new to you. All right. So today we are talking about Arrival. This is my favorite Villeneuve movie, and I'm very interested to see where it ranks for you because at this point we've talked about quite a few on the show. I did a whole way back when Dune 2 came out. I did a whole Dune week where all I watched for that week was the part 1 and 2 of the Villeneuve Dune. Then I watched David Lynch's Dune, and then I watched the documentary about Jodorowsky's Dune. So if you're interested in that, I talk about it pretty heavily there. And then, of course, somewhat recently, we talked about Blade Runner 2047, which is a movie that we both love. And I think we've both gone on record in saying that we think it's better than the original Blade Runner.
correct.
And I will stand on that statement. But this was your pick. I basically just asked you, like, hey, what do you want to do next? This was the first episode after doing the big list week. We had to take some time off because things got crazy, but now things are slowing down and we're back. And so you decided, let's do Arrival. So I guess the question is why? What was going through your head?
I don't know. I feel like I saw the poster for the movie somewhere randomly, and then I'm like, huh, we should do that one.
We should do this one.
And that was the end of it.
Okay.
It was literally I'm like, I liked Blade Runner. I think Dune's kind of cool. Why not?
You know, that's fine. When I ask my mom that question, it's usually like a couple minutes of like, oh well,
Yeah.
this is like a whole story.
Sometimes I have that. Yeah, usually I got
Sometimes.
something. This time I'm just like, just let's just watch this.
Yeah, it was kind of random, but
It was.
it was kind of serendipitous because I was also like, I also want to watch Arrival because I have seen it, but it's been a couple years, and I remember really, really liking it. In fact, I think I'll credit this movie with getting me into sci-fi because for the longest time, I was like, sci-fi is not really my thing. And I think I watched maybe Dune, and I'm like, that's interesting. But then when I watched this movie, I was like, oh, okay, this is what sci-fi can be. And now I would say it's one of my favorite genres. And I still think that this might be one of the best sci-fi movies, if not the best. And I've seen quite a few. But what did you think of Arrival, this being your first time around?
It's very good. I really enjoyed it. Um, I was like skeptical going in because like maybe it's just because it's 2016, but the movie starts in very gray, no color, dark.
Yeah.
We have big stars like Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner, and the posters suck and the typography is subpar. So I was like, uh-oh, is this just going to be a 2016? Like, this is how all the movies were made back then.
Yeah.
That quickly, left after the first 15 minutes. So I'm like, okay, we're good.
Yes.
But initially I was like, uh-oh, this feels incredibly generic in the first 10 minutes.
Sure.
But that is not a slight against it once you get into it.
No.
We did have to switch TVs because my TV is black on one side, so I couldn't see what was happening.
Oh no.
It's a very old TV, so we had to go to the good TV and then continue watching, which was a much better experience.
Wow.
So,
Well, I'm glad you switched.
yeah,
There's some great visuals going on in this
there is.
movie. It would have been
Mhm.
disappointing if you could only see half of them.
Yeah, once I noticed the main colors of this movie were black and white, I'm like, okay, I can't do this on this TV.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do you even still have that TV? It sounds like it doesn't work.
It doesn't really, but I don't want to spend $250 on a TV right now.
Understandable.
But I will soon, probably, because it's going to die.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's good for watching your Family Guys and your whatever colorful cartoons,
Sure.
and that's it.
You know what? That's fine. That sounds decent. Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you liked it. I think the like beginning of this kind of playing into kind of cliche sci-fi stuff
Mhm.
is to the movie's credit
Yes.
because it really like sets your expectations where it's like, oh, okay, I know exactly what we're getting into, and then it completely subverts that and goes full on like very heady sci-fi in the like they're breaking down the minutia of like what goes into like language and like the very specific parts, the like categories of grammar and stuff, and how you would go about actually trying to communicate with an alien, which, as someone who likes to sit around and think about these kinds of things, I'm like, this is exactly
Fascinating.
what I've been
Yeah.
thinking about. And I feel like it does such a good job of doing that, where they definitely don't dumb it down like some sort of big Hollywood sci-fi movie might, not always, but might. Um, but I think it's just so g dang interesting to me. But this is also coming from a guy who's very interested in language and culture and accents and all sorts of linguistic kind of fun things like that. So this movie's like right up my alley.
hmm Yeah, it didn't feel like a Villeneuve movie for the first 20 minutes, so I was like, "This is weird." And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, I'm like, "Oh, that was the setup. Now we're in it." And the main point is like deciphering language, which is just like he's so good at like let's set up the world in a very broad sense, but we're going to focus so specifically on small details, but you still get everything around it.
Yeah.
Um, that is just like really, really, really well done. Uh, I feel like with Paul Thomas Anderson, I've only seen one of his movies. He tries to do the same thing, but like I'm focused more on the world building when he focuses on character driven after he sets up the world.
Mhm.
This I love because it's the details of certain characters. Like the language is the entire thing of the movie, and
Yes.
that drives forward everything, and it's like fantastic. Like I
Yeah.
don't need another alien movie. Like all the alien movies, I'm like, show me the little like weird stuff that we can't comprehend, like what they look like and
Yes.
like how we would interact with them.
Hmm.
So it's always a fascinating kind of like thing to tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like exactly what you're saying. Like, and this is also a good movie, but I think a good parallel. Have you ever seen District 9?
Ooh, I know of it. I don't know if I've seen the whole thing.
Okay, it's pretty good, but it's directed by a guy named Neil Blomkamp, who is kind of notorious for like very heavy-handed social commentary and sci-fi stuff.
Mhm.
Like he did Chappie,
Oh yeah.
so like that kind of puts you on what his kind of lane is. I think District 9 is his best, but it's so clearly about like racism and apartheid. It's set in South Africa. Basically, aliens arrive in South Africa and they are like put in like essentially like a ghetto where they're like walled in and they're
Mhm.
only allowed in this one area. It's like, okay, I understand what you're doing. You're trying to do this parallel towards apartheid and all this stuff. But did you need to make the oppressed people aliens? I don't know if that necessarily helps your point. And they're all like bugs. I think they're like pretty close to being like grasshoppers, just
Mhm.
like locusts. And I'm like, well, locusts are kind of, they destroy crops. And like, if you're trying to be like, oh, we're sympathetic towards this oppressed group, maybe having them represented by an actual carrier of blight is probably not the best idea. But I think with this movie, it's so interesting because, like you're saying, it's all about the language, but the aliens themselves are like so like they are alien. They're like pretty
Mhm.
much unlike anything that's on Earth, and the way that they communicate is vastly different than how everything on Earth communicates, which is audio through the waves and whatever, because they just spit out a little ink blot and that's an
Mhm.
entire like sentence, which is crazy. But it's just so g dang interesting how for like half of the movie it's all just okay, we're trying to teach them this specific word, and like we see Ian walks and then Jeremy Renner is walking, so we're trying to specifically teach them this one word, and we're just going to spend a lot of time on it. And I'm like, that's the best part. The middle chunk where they're like actually talking to the
Hmm.
aliens is my favorite thing, except for the ending, which is phenomenal, which we'll get to.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. I am interested because I believe because I talked about this movie when I first saw it, and briefly I think I brought up the fact I'm like this is the one kind of thing that I have against this movie is that it's very clearly like China and Russia and
Yeah.
Sudan are the bad guys. But looking back at it now, I don't necessarily think that I mean, there is that angle where it's like this is I think Villeneuve is Canadian, but whatever, still under the NATO umbrella, where it's like these are the bad guys, we have to paint them as the bad guys. But I didn't necessarily see that their actions were like super out of character or
No,
unreasonable because
I
it
thought it was
was
actually pretty accurate, surprisingly.
yeah. I was like, this actually seems really smart, and it isn't just like
Hmm.
painting them as like, oh, they're just super militaristic and they just shoot everything out
Yeah.
of the sky. The reason that they are viewing the aliens as antagonists is just the medium that they used to teach language, which
Hmm.
was a
Yep.
game. Which I think I even talked about back then, that being like really impressive. But now I'm like, man, that is so g dang smart
Hmm.
because that is like a big cultural signifier that like the Chinese intelligence are trying to like they use mahjong tiles and essentially set up the all of the conversations are done through mahjong, and so they essentially view every single interaction as like a competition,
Hmm.
which is one of the best lines in the movie where it's like if you've only handed if you only have a hammer then everything is a nail,
Hmm.
which I think is just genius. So, yeah, I don't know. I want you to expand on that because I believe you did say something back then. Not that you remember what you said, but
I had no
I
idea
don't
what I
even
said.
remember what you said. I just remember you saying something like, oh, of course, or something like that.
I mean, yeah, that's how these movies are always portrayed. It's like, even if there's bad eggs in the U.S., it's always like these countries are the enemy, or we're in Top Gun 2 and we're like on against this unidentified country, but they have thick Eastern European accents
Yeah.
or North Korean accents or something. Um, but I feel like the politics were like an aside where it's like we have the best people working on this across the world from all these different nations. They are getting together like a UN kind of thing.
Hmm.
I mean, China has a non-interventionist policy. It's very closed off in its ways, just the way that it sets up its country. So of course they would like try to like do the thing that they're doing in the movie, but like if it
Hmm.
came down to it, they would do that. Like they
Yeah.
are perfectly okay with like, okay, we need to get them out of here now before something happens. Like that makes sense in the alliances between them and everything. Like
Yeah.
all that kind of politics stuff went over pretty well. It doesn't paint America as the good guy or the bad guy or anybody the
No.
good guy or the bad guy because like all of them are in just like a they're all just trying to learn like how to even deal with this thing,
Yeah.
which I think was like a really good take of it. You could have easily just like had this spiral into like chaos of like China shot it immediately and now we're on phase 3 and now it's
Yeah.
like deploy everything. But even like the Alex Jones figure that they have in the movie where like the
Yeah.
dumb idiot military guys are immediately like, yeah, we need to blow up the aliens. Like that's pretty smart. I
Yeah.
enjoyed that section of it. Like all the little tension pieces throughout the movie are really well done, and feel realistic. I
Yeah.
think that's the best part about this movie is like it feels not like outside of reality if something like this were to like occur.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love that stuff too. Uh, that was like I remembered that, and I was like, man, I almost like before I even rewatched it, I'm like, man, I wish this movie was just about the language stuff because that's
Hmm.
just who I am. I just would love a nerdy movie about that. But now I'm like, man, that is what makes the movie so great. Is that there is this kind of like push and pull where kind of like what you're saying, where it isn't like we're painting with broad strokes, where it's like the US is good and everybody in this compound are fighting for the same thing.
Hmm.
And like, oh, they're just the objective good guys. Like most of the people that we see that work for the United States government are bad guys that are
Yeah.
trying to isolate and like, well, how can we use this weapon that they're going to give us against our enemies?
Hmm.
Or how are we going to turn this into some sort of advantage for us? Which is also what like essentially like Russia and China are also doing, which also makes sense because all of the world powers are essentially trying to screw each other over all of the time.
Yeah. And in
Um,
those three, it's like that's the new and old Cold War. So like
yeah,
it's makes sense that those tensions are automatically there.
yeah, true. It's just, and I love too that like the ending, which we won't go too much into the ending yet, but the resolution isn't like the U.S. wins and like China and Russia lose. It's
Hmm.
everybody wins because they all learn to work together and put aside
Hmm.
those like petty differences, which I think is like really nice message. Like this is a pro humanity movie, which is
Hmm.
kind of what I love about sci-fi. Like one of the best things about Star Trek, for example, is that like it's set so far in the future that like humanity and all of the current contemporary problems that humanity faces are essentially so ancient that the people that we see, like when they are introduced to modern problems, they are like kind of shocked by them, or are not even aware that they were problems to begin with, where it's
Hmm.
like it takes them a second. There's an episode of the original Star Trek show, and I won't talk too much about Star Trek because I don't know a whole lot about it. I've just seen a lot of episodes. But there's an episode of the original show where Abraham Lincoln comes on the Enterprise and he calls Uhura, who's the black female officer, an offensive term. I'll just put it that way. It's not the offensive term, but it's
Yeah.
an offensive term. And her like response to it isn't being offended. It's not even the shock that I said. She's just like laughs and she's like, "Oh yeah, racism was a thing." It's so ancient that like in the future, like the concept of racism is like an afterthought, where it's like there are
Hmm.
people out there today that's like racism is over or it never existed or whatever. But it's like, no, they really have no concept of racism being a thing,
Hmm.
which I love. And it seems like at the end of Arrival, that's kind of the future that they're trying to go towards. And I'm like, this is the message that should be in sci-fi, where it's like
Hmm.
they're like, I'm fine with sci-fi dystopia, whatever, but like I think what sci-fi can do for humanity is provide hope, a hope for a better future where everything that is going on now is in the past. And so that's kind of why I love the ending of this movie so much, is that
Hmm.
and General Shang is kind of set up to be this antagonist, but by the end, he's just a person. And like we kind of completely understand like why he made the actions that he did, and also like what took him away from that is reminding him of his humanity, of his wife's dying words. It's just utterly human and beautiful. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of anti-China messaging and a lot of things, but I didn't really get that from this movie. Like
No,
it was critical, of course, but it wasn't critical from like a I'm putting them down because they think this way or do this thing, but just
yeah,
like they have a different way of doing things than what like we're viewing our characters through their lens of the government around them. I
sure.
think it's different too viewing this movie after COVID compared to before COVID because
Mm,
this kind of thing kind of happened where the whole world kind of had to have this freak out shutdown where everything countries treated it differently. Some went a lot better than others, and
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So I think it like adds a level of realism to this movie, just like with that chaos. I'm like, damn, that felt like COVID for the first couple of weeks right there.
Yeah, I know. Especially like she walks into school and nobody's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
That reminded me because, well, we both went to school during COVID. I was like, man, I'd remember those
Hmm.
days where there's 4 people there. Different
Yeah.
circumstances, but same
Exactly.
outcome.
I will say I think the only thing that it gets caught up on in terms of the politics is it shows Venezuela a lot, and every time it shows it, it shows people rebelling against the government,
Yeah,
and that's not really that's straight U.S. you know
yeah,
framing, um, given that the Venezuelans are fighting for their own freedom and have had that, and then
yeah,
they have to like make it seem like the people that live there hate their government. So that was like a weird thing that I saw shoehorned in there. I'm like, that's interesting. Like Venezuela's
yeah.
never brought up except for like when they show the like the
They
the
cut
news
around.
footage of chaos after like this immediately happens, and I'm like, that's a interesting decision. But
Yeah,
I won't knock it too hard. But I'm like, I noticed, I
it's
saw it.
it's that and Sierra Leone. When they show like
Yes.
Sierra Leone, it's also like
Yep.
a military uprising, which
Hmm.
almost feels like blanket. Africa is always in a civil war, as if it's
Yeah.
one country.
Yeah.
Um, and then always like Sudan is always lumped in with Russia and China.
Hmm.
I don't know much about the politics of Sudan, but I don't know if
Well,
they're like super
probably different than they
militaristic.
were 10 years ago, I
Well,
guess, when,
true.
at this point.
Yeah, I guess because man, South Sudan was like created in like 2013 or
Yeah.
2012, so it was like
Yeah. Yeah. It's.
I guess it was right around then, so maybe it was like
Mhm.
on their minds. Um,
I don't expect Villeneuve to know the very complex situation of that area of Africa
no,
specifically, but yeah.
no, and I think like if we sit here and analyze the geopolitics too much, that's almost
Yeah,
missing
exactly.
the forest for
Yep.
the trees, because that's not at all what this movie is about.
Hmm.
Um, but I did clock that too, where I'm like, oh yeah,
Yes. That
Venezuela's.
was the only negative I had to it. I think it did a really good job with the rest of it, as it did not make it the main focus, but
Yeah,
made like a good amount of tension without it being distracting.
yeah. Almost I don't even think it's like antagonistic of like showing all of Venezuela like that. I think they were just like,
Hmm.
there's civil uprising around these alien sites, which
Yeah.
we kind of see all over the world.
Hmm.
They do like a montage of like all of the countries where like, but it is different. Where like Venezuela, there's like guns and explosions. Then in the UK,
And
there's like,
riot shields and stuff. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's specifically that imagery that I had an issue with, but
In the UK, it was like a guy in an anonymous mask, like spray
like
painting
doing
a
graffiti.
wall.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what civil unrest looks like. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
some teenager who's doing low level vandalism looks like, but fine. Yeah. But I think I walked away from this being like, I don't think that any government should be involved when aliens make contact. Like
Yeah.
that just it seems like they have way too many ulterior motives. We should just be sending the scientists in. The army shouldn't even really be there unless they start blasting first. That was
Hmm.
all that was going through my head. I'm like, okay, what would be going on and what should be going on? And I'm sure the scientists have their own ulterior motives and whatever. But I'm like, I think we need to be putting the whole Earth society first instead of divvying us up in tribes and whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I think it's very smart. It's very well done. Um, yeah, yeah. So was there anything in specific that you wanted to talk about? Is there anything that you really really liked or that you really hated?
No, I feel like it's a
Oh,
it's a very like I didn't have any issues with anything really. I do like how it messes with you as the movie goes on. I guess getting into the ending
yeah, yeah.
slash twist slash whatever it is, like because it makes you think that it's on a linear timeline, and then you slowly start to understand as it happens, and then you're like, wait a minute, this is linear, but like usually you do the thing where in a movie you get a flashback and the viewer understands that they're in a flashback, so they're able to disconnect those two timelines.
Yeah.
But like there's a trippy thing in your brain once you realize that's happening where it's like, oh, this isn't a flashback. This is like future almost.
Yeah.
Like we're flashing forward, but we're still in the same timeline as her mind as this is happening.
Hmm.
And that was really cool. Like that little kind of sleight of hand, I guess I should say, is really well done. It's not
Yeah.
like a Sixth Sense like twist where it's like, oh my god, but it's like a very cleverly placed, like as you're seeing it unravel, it's like, damn, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are like little breadcrumbs sprinkled throughout.
Yep.
I think like the one that is the most obvious is when, because I guess
Spoilers.
the spoilers, but the twist being that like once you understand the alien language, that it like completely shifts your perception of time. It
Hmm.
essentially turns you into like Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, or whatever her name is from Everything Everywhere All at Once, where you're experiencing like everything
Yep.
kind of at the same time. Um, and so there's like very like the obvious one is like we see her daughter come down the stairs and ask for like what's the name of this term that's like a win-win but it's more scientific.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, if you want science you should talk to your dad, and that's before it's revealed that like
Yep.
it's Jeremy Renner's the dad. He got hit by a snowplow, that's why he's not in the future.
That's in the future, but it's
That's it. Yeah. She should have went back. She should
I
have
couldn't have
warned him.
predicted that.
She should have been like, "Hey, Jeremy, watch out."
True. We're gonna have children, but also you're gonna get ran over by a snowplow in
No.
7 years.
And it's like it's so funny. Well, it's not funny, but it's like they apparently like divorce because she tells him that their daughter's gonna die. Which I mean,
Hmm.
like, why would you ever tell your husband that? Like, I mean,
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm just like, if I were
But at
an
the same time, that's like I don't know what I would do in that
I
situation.
guess, yeah, I'm not Dr. Manhattan. I'm not sitting on the moon being sad or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess I can't put myself in those shoes, but it is like weird.
Hmm.
But it does lead to like the best line in the movie, which I think might be the last line in the movie, where they're hugging and she's like, I forgot, or I miss what it was like being held by you, or something like that.
Hmm.
It's just like this great emotional moment. Um, but I caught another little breadcrumb, and I don't know if I haven't looked it up if this is another
Okay.
obvious one. But when the daughter is like, she had to design a show, and it was like mom and dad talk to
Oh, the
animals or
bird.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's the bird in the cage. And like when they first arrive at the aliens, there's the canary, which is like a mining thing, whatever. But there's like a lot of shots where it's like just the bird. And it's like,
Hmm.
then there's a bird in the cage with the mom and the dad and drying. And I was like, ah, that's how they met. That's how they met. If you knew that, that's fun and cool. I thought that was kind of neat when I saw it.
Yeah,
And then, but I think they do draw attention to it, like in the
they do.
flashback at the end, where it's just like, there's the drawing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but
It
you know,
doesn't beat you over the head. It's just like,
no,
remember, it is in a subtle way. It's not the main point of like their shot when they do it, which is
no,
nice.
no, that's almost just like alluding to like the loss and whatever. Like it's
Hmm.
framed very specifically on the wall, where it's like this is something that means a lot to Louise.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's g dang brilliant. Uh,
Yeah. Even just like the main point of discovery of the language is like they form sentences starting at the end and the beginning, and then they reach the middle, and the whole sentence is formed. And the
yeah.
whole movie is on that exact kind of timeline. So it's like
Oh
kind
yeah.
of crazy that she kind of figured, maybe that's why it happens, is because she figures out they're forming this entire thought process from the beginning to the end that meets in the middle. And
Mm,
that's kind of what broke her brain. I don't know.
I don't know, but that's a good point, because the movie starts with the flashback,
Yeah.
um,
And
or
it ends
the
with the same
ending.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't really think about that, but yeah, that probably is like an allegory to like how the alien language is set up, the pacing of the
Hmm.
movie. Uh,
Good visual storytelling.
yeah, which I feel like is something that Villeneuve is kind of known for,
Yeah.
especially with his sci-fi flicks. Although there's a
Hmm.
lot of good stuff in like Prisoners too, which maybe we'll get to someday. That's like
Okay.
his. I think that might be his like most acclaimed movie,
Mm.
more so than this, which I'm kind of surprised by.
I
But
mean, having seen three of them, I guess I can say I'm a fan now. So that's good.
nice,
They've all been bangers.
they're very good. I'm currently, I know I've said this before, but I think he is one of the best directors in Hollywood or making movies right now. And I think that in the future he will be held to as high acclaim as a Hitchcock or as
Hmm.
any other Billy Wilder or whatever. Any of these like classic directors. I'm like in the future I'm sure they will be showing Arrival and stuff in film schools cuz like this is
I
how you
Yeah,
write
it's very well put
sci-fi.
together. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's different. I think for him too, my expectations are always like twisted because I see the biggest name actors you can possibly find,
Yeah.
but then the actual quality of the movie is like really intricate and like detailed and nice.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I go see movies with big actors, it's meant to be a blockbuster and it's kind of just here's the movie and you leave. But like this feels very like intentional and intricate, and Amy Adams is fantastic.
Yep.
Like Jeremy Renner's not my favorite actor in the world, but he does a good job in
I
this.
think
So it's
so.
like big names everywhere, but it doesn't feel like a big name movie, I guess, if that makes
No.
sense.
Yeah, no, this doesn't feel like, I mean, this is a Hollywood movie. I think it's by Universal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Amy Adams is fantastic in everything that she's in, even those
Hmm.
terrible, terrible Zack Snyder
It's
movies.
true. It's true.
She's pretty good as Lois Lane. Jeremy Renner is fine in pretty much
Hmm.
everything I've seen him in. I think he's like actually really good in this. And Forrest Whitaker is just he's a force to be reckoned with in pretty much everything he's in.
That's true.
I think having him as like the colonel in the head of like the army is like a genius decision. He is
Hmm.
like he just commands so much. But he also has like a soft side to him. Like he
Yeah.
has he
Complex.
he's complex. He isn't like I think it would have been easy and maybe this would have been a better move if we're talking like putting humanity forward of having like the big army general being the overt bad guy, like
Yeah.
being, come on, oh, you want to introduce vocabulary? No, we need to get this question answered immediately. But like Forrest Whitaker is like, okay, give me whatever your vocabulary words are ahead of time, just don't add anything. Like he's just setting up clear boundaries,
Hmm.
which I think is like, okay, he's a good leader. Whether whatever, I mean, he's in the military, so he's done bad things, obviously. But
Hmm.
like the US military, I guess I should say, but I guess pretty much every single military has
Most
done evil
militaries.
things.
Yeah.
Uh, so he's probably a bad guy, but he seems to be like a decent leader that is trying to balance the needs of the suits in Washington and the scientists
Mhm.
that are trying to do boots on the ground work with the aliens. So I actually think like yes, they're big names, they're faces you put on the poster, but like this isn't if it was like Angelina Jolie and Leonardo DiCaprio and like more like straight up A-list people. Not that Amy Adams isn't A-list. I don't know if most people probably know Jeremy Renner's name now because of the
Yeah.
app, which is
Of
the
course,
best.
that's what he's most known
That's
for.
that's what he's most known for, and his Imagine Dragons covers that he does
Mm,
that
yes.
he disguises as original music.
Hmm.
Um, and everyone knows Forrest Whitaker as Star Wars guy now.
Of course.
Saw Gerrera from the Rogue One, the best Star
Mm,
Wars movie ever made.
forgot
Um,
he was in that.
yeah, he is. I love. They're like, we need to have this resistance leader who's like a badass, and they set him up as like a guerrilla fighter. And then his one scene in the movie, he's like, I'm so sad that the Empire is winning and they're going to blow me up with the Death Star. Okay, I'm not going to try to move. I'm just going to sit here and let me get obliterated. Uh, that movie
You take
sucks.
the heat.
Whatever. He is good in Andor, though. He reprises that role in Andor, and he's very, very
Okay.
good.
They learned
Yeah, they learned. They definitely learned.
with that at least.
That show is G-dang fantastic. Talking about great sci-fi. But I don't know. I feel like that might be everything that I had to talk about Arrival. I feel like we covered all of the big things, the things that make this
Mhm.
movie great. Oh no, I was going to compare this movie to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I know you have not
Mm.
seen. It is a
Mhm.
movie that you will love, but it's a movie that I do not. So
Okay.
for that reason, we probably won't do it on the podcast.
That means it's going to be like a 5 for me and a 2 for you.
Yes.
Potentially.
Potentially. I think that you would really, really like, because you like Stalker. And I think 2001 is very similar to Stalker in terms
Yeah,
of
I've heard that.
tone.
Mhm.
But why I think this is the best sci-fi movie, because I do need to kind of back that up, because 2001 is obviously like has a reputation.
Mhm.
But why I think this movie is stronger than 2001 is because 2001 is very concept heavy. It is like all about like the root of humanity and like zooming out a lot. Like that is the whole thing. The purpose of life is essentially what 2001 is about. But the story of it is so weak. Like I have no attachment to any of the characters in 2001.
Mhm.
But what I think, like, this movie is such a perfect balance because it is balancing the like science fiction, what would happen if aliens landed here, but we're zooming in to like essentially two people and like their impact on this situation, and we are like attached to them because of like just we see their story play out, and the story is really really well written and well acted. Not that the
Mhm.
acting in 2001 is bad. There's hardly any acting in 2001. It's just people walking around and talking to each other and doing nothing. I don't like that movie very much. I think I had to watch it in like 2 sittings because I was so bored.
Mhm.
There's like a 10-minute montage of like them docking at the moon base. It's not a montage. We're
It
just
feels like you're
watching.
describing Stalker right
It
now, which
feels
is
like
just
I'm.
really funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Those movies are like the same in my head, where I'm like this. They're just talking about nothing. Uh, Although I think Stalker has more to say than 2001. I think Stalker's a better
Okay.
movie than
Okay.
2001, and I don't really like Stalker.
Okay.
So I'll put that on record. I don't think that's necessarily an unpopular opinion. But
I feel like that's where it's like a clash of titans where people are you're not wrong no matter which one you kind of prefer.
yeah, probably. I mean, Kubrick and oh my God, why
Kubrick
can't
and Tarkovsky.
Tarkovsky? I'm like, why can't I think of
Yeah.
his name? Okay, yeah, yeah.
East versus West.
East versus West,
Except I think
capitalism.
they liked each other quite a bit. So
Yeah, no, I don't think. I was about to say capitalism versus communism, but I don't think Stanley Kubrick was essentially a big time capitalist.
yeah, I think
Um,
they're both in a gray area there.
yeah,
So
they're just kind of artists, which is
yeah,
what you want.
they do their critiques because that's what they do when they
Yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Damn well.
That's the point of art, I think.
Exactly.
Sometimes. Especially well in sci-fi, I think. You need to have a message.
Hmm.
Um,
True.
so I did want to bring that up. I think Arrival's the best sci-fi movie. I love it. It might just be so up my alley with the
Hmm.
linguistic stuff, but I don't know. I love it. I love it.
Okay. I also love it.
So
Stalker's probably top one sci-fi for me, but
that's fine.
I don't have enough sample size yet. And that one's like not even completely sci-fi. I feel like that's something
No,
else. It's like it is sci-fi technically, but it's something else.
it's dystopian sci-fi. I think if you were to
Yeah,
put it
it's
in a
something.
bucket, it would be that
Hmm.
bucket. But
Yeah.
it doesn't like. There's so much like philosophy. Like I don't necessarily
Yeah.
associate philosophy with
Tarkovsky's like
sci-fi.
reading a book on screen,
Yes.
which my
Yes.
favorite game is also Disco Elysium, which is also another book in a different format.
Yeah.
So maybe I just like reading things.
That's entirely possible. And I don't like
But
reading things, but I do
okay,
like Disco
this makes a
Elysium.
lot of sense now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think this movie's great. I think I like Blade Runner slightly more than
Okay.
this one. Just because of like its scale and its atmosphere is just like I still think about like the way that's shot is just like gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
But I think I do like this more than Dune. Um,
Mm.
Mainly because I'm not getting flashbanged every 20 minutes.
Yes,
So
the first Dune is like that.
it really is. Saw it in a theater too, and it was just like bam, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, isn't that like, well, when the title card comes up, it's just like cut
Yeah.
to white and then it like fades
They
out
do it
of white.
so many times, and then
Yeah.
like Zendaya fades in, and I'm like, oh my god.
Whoa. I love
Whoa.
Euphoria.
Yeah, this is very good. It's I think both me and my girlfriend went in being like, all right, it's an alien movie, and then the first 20 minutes were like, this could be literally any alien movie, and then like 20 minutes later we were just like glued to the screen, and I'm like, yeah, that's a Villeneuve right there.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. If you have not seen it, first of all, you should have clicked off when we said
Yeah, you
spoilers.
should have clicked off.
Yeah, we ruined the
It's
movie for
unfortunate.
you.
Well, watch it anyways.
Just watch it. I think,
The devil's in the details.
yeah, even knowing the twist, I think you'll enjoy it. There's enough minutia
Mhm.
there, especially if you're a nerd. A nerd.
Exactly. A nerd.
So that'll do it for this episode of the Boy Time Podcast. Check back next time when we review Shakma.
Vertigo.
Vertigo. I don't want to do Vertigo.
Yeah.
I'll sneak in one hot take. I don't like that movie.
Okay. That's at the very end. Nobody will see that.
Nobody will see that. I like half of that movie. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
People who have seen the movie know what I'm talking about. They don't agree, but they know what I'm talking about. Okay. Bye.